Poetic peeps and gentle persons, in-betweeners and nonconformers, genders all and genders equal. Welcome to Eat the Storms, the poetry podcast. Today on the 25th of April 2024, celebrating Poetry Day Ireland. And how are we celebrating? By having a race. And what kind of race? A relay race. And what kind of relay race? A poetic relay race. And what kind of poetic relay race? An All-Ireland poetic relay race. Today on the podcast we have 32 poets reading 32 poems to represent each of the 32 counties on this glorious island of Ireland. So thank you to the supporters for tuning in. Make sure you stand clear of the start line and behind the barriers and have your county cheers at the ready, and remember, support your neighbours as if they were your own. You may be tuning in on platforms like Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, Podbean, Player FM, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castbox, Podcast Addicts or iTunes. But however you're tuning in, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you here today to this very special episode. My name is Damien B Donnelly. I get to be your host and producer, and be prepared. We have a full show ahead of us. So brace yourselves and let the storm run wild. So let's get officially underway now with the All-Ireland Poetic Relay Race here at Eat the Storms. We'll be starting down in the south of Ireland and working our way around the coastline, over to the east, up to the north, round to the west, back down to the south before we spiral inwards as the race continues to the poetic finish line. If you are sitting curbside in the comfort of your own armchair next to the cheerings, ensure there are dribbles of whiskey or fine heads on the Guinness, and of course, as always, a few sweet treats to keep our sugar levels up. And with a whistle blown, we are officially off, and leaving the starting line we have County Kerry, recalling the joys of the GAA while she runs for us today. And she can cover quite a distance as she was born in Kyushu in Japan but raised in County Kerry. Her work is informed by her Irish and Japanese heritage, Amonist worldview and academic studies in religions, political science and cultural heritage. She's been featured in places like Good Day Cork, Channel Magazine, Motley Magazine and Garland Realm. Singer, poet, songwriter, working in English and Irish Ush Gaelga. It's no mean feat to be the first one when the whistle blows, but we're on very steady footing as we kick off. So it's a Gurumila Mahagat for starting us off, and a Cade Mila Fulcha to our Kerry poet.
Hello, Díomh. Ismisha Amano. My name is Amano, and I'm representing the glorious county of Kerry, County Kerry, on this Poetry Day Ireland with Eat the Storms. This is a poem called Homecoming, brackets GAA. The gulp of pride and feverish expectation. Green and gold wash over the close scoile, and I'm in the thick of it. And so are you. And they're my team, and yours too, and I belong. The flashy Celtic Tiger Epoch jersey is slippery and shiny, and it slips over my head like a purchasable halo, and I fly. Weightless now, I soar on a September's day to a place where I no longer have a funny name, and here I am, a true Kerry woman. Home they come, Kyrie-a-boo, singing, dancing, rebel tunes. Some say the devil is dead, the devil is dead, the devil is dead. Some say the devil is dead and buried in the kingdom comes alive, and I'm its daughter.
And I can confirm now that we're officially a relay race as the baton has been passed from County Kerry to County Cork. And keeping up the momentum, we've a poet who's published 2 rhyming children's short stories called The Three Mucky Pops and its sequel, Pops, Pancakes and Pandemonium. She's had exhibits in poetry galleries, been featured online in Right Minds Poetry and Wellness, and was selected for Cork City Council's Poetry in the Park 2022. Usually working on her debut poetry collection, but today she's left it all behind to race along the tracks of the Cork coastline, and even as a power to bring us up its mountains. This, for County Cork, is Emma Davis.
My name is Emma Davis, and I'm reading for County Cork. Gugan Barra. The mountains hold me in their arms. I'm safe within their solemn stone. These gentle giants of silent strength and ever-changing tone. Fresh and flowing crystal streams are offered from the sacred skies. Their courses carve the yielding slopes and are rivers called to rise. Still waters seal the centuries in the deep and the opaque, and nature's untold secrets are whispered round the lake. Paradise heard pilgrim prayers by the cool springs of the Lee, and this refuge at heaven's heights was Finbar's answered plea. In this haven he sojourned to rest his humble feet, surrounded by celestial peace in this welcome retreat.
And without even a tremble, the baton moves on from County Cork to County Waterford now as the next poet, accompanied by thunder, races along Cliff Road. Our next competitor in this All-Ireland relay race is at work in places like Poetry Ireland Review, Under the Radar, the Acrostic Review, Skylight 47, the Stony Thursday Book and the Bangor Literary Journal, to name but a few. Her poems have been anthologised in Local Wonders from Daedalus, Washing Windows from Arlen House, the Verve Eco Poetry Anthology and She Press. She's received Poetry Mentoring Awards from the Munster Literary Centre and the National Mentoring Awards, was a bursary recipient at the John Hewitt International Summer School 2023 and is fresh from receiving the Desmond O'Grady International Poetry Award earlier this year. Taking us through the beautiful County Waterford on Poetry Day Ireland, this is Ger Duffy.
Hello, my name is Ger Duffy and I'm reading for County Waterford. The poem I'm going to read is called Cliff Road, and this is a road and piece of coastline in Tramore. Cliff Road. Flat, deep water, colour of tin, elderflower, grass, sea air, tin clouds, breasting cliffs, girls jumping into tin water, buoyed up like corks. At the first rumble of thunder, I stare skywards, as if I might catch you staring back.
And there's no stopping us now as we come around to the southeastern corner of this grand island of Ireland and focus on that run all the way up through the east toward the north. But for our next county poet, we are running on pure positivity in Gorey in County Wexford, where the baton has been passed and the race continues. This time we have a poet who grew up in Wicklow but jumped county to the neighbouring Wexford. Is the founder of Pen Pals in the Pod, a weekly writing group for adult writers of all stages, has had work appearing in places like Fledglings, Taken Flight, the Gorey Writers Group and 2 issues of Wexford Women Writing Undercover from Red Books Wexford. She's a member of the Graduates, a Co-op Housing Ireland's book club, a regular reviewer on writing.ie and Children's Books Ireland, has been longlisted for the RTE Penguin Ireland Short Story Writing Competition and featured in a number of journals both online and in print. Despite suffering from an array of health conditions including fibromyalgia and spinal stenosis, she is here with us today on our poetic relay race. For County Wexford, this is Grace O'Reilly.
Hi, my name is Grace O'Reilly. Happy Poetry Day Ireland 2024 to everybody listening. I am representing my county, Wexford, the purple and gold county, and I live in Gorey. Gorey Park Run by Grace O'Reilly, the 15th of April 2024. Gorey Park Run, where do I start? Never dreamt that it would become a place in my heart. It's not just about fitness and becoming thin. Crossing the finish point, I have an ear-to-ear grin. A sense of achievement and another one down. Never leave the park miserable or with a frown. Don't be fooled by the name, park run or park walk. You can compete with yourself or brisk walk, stroll and talk. Volunteering's an option and it's a good thing to do. When you volunteer often, others get to run or walk too. Getting healthier and stronger is a brilliant feat, not just for your body, for your mindset, it's sweet. Positivity that you can makes you stronger in mind, meeting others with goals, good sports that are kind. Lifting each other up, signing up to other races. Real friendships are about tying each other's laces. Sipping coffee and the banter, skinny cappuccino in the coffee pod. I am happy that I found my park run friends, my running squad. As I said in the beginning, park run is much more than a race around the track. Initially, I thought I'd outpour. PRs are a nice bonus. If you earn one, it's great. And with park run on tour, you can go on a park run date. There are numerous park runs. Just look one up. If you start to do park run, I wish you good luck. Team spirit is everything. Being a good sport is key. And to those already involved with parkrun, I'm sure they'll agree.
And we are now on that stretch up along the east coast as a baton has been handed over from County Wexford to County Wicklow, and it's County Poet who sings about ivory towers between Greystones and Delgany. A former writing tutor in Dunleary and at the Greystones Cancer Support, she received the Person of the Year for Culture in 2022, has fiction and memoir appearing in various anthologies and magazines and broadcast on Living Word and Sunday Miscellany. She's had poems in the Ogham Stone, Skylight 47, Boyne Berries and the Galway Review, to name but a few, along with a poetry collection, Wings and Roots from Revival Press, and a debut novel last year called A Bronx Tale. Here, running for us from the United States all the way back to the sea and the sky of Wicklow, this is Frances Browner.
Frances Browner, County Wicklow, between the mountains and the sea. She looked for love on Broadway, Manhattan up to the Bronx. Way out on Long Island, she was searching for romance. She'd settled in this new world, on greener grass, was so happy, far away from her homeland, between the mountains and the sea. Years past, she got the notion to return to where she'd grown. An ivory tower in Greystones finally became her home. You can't go back, they told her. The past must be set free. They didn't know love was waiting between the mountains and the sea. With a man she knew before, from next door in Delgany, they strolled North Beach for hours, stayed up talking until 3. Love was right in front of her. It just took time to see. All the while, love was waiting between the mountains and the sea. One autumn night at sunset, against the crashing, roaring tide, his blue eyes leaned into her, their soft lips gently did collide. Soon she stopped saying I and me and started using we. Her search for love was over between the mountains and the sea. Sometimes what we are looking for are the things we cannot see. Sometimes love is waiting between the mountains and the sea.
And we're already coming around to the sixth county now as Frances Browner, our Wicklow poet, hands over the baton to County Dublin, and a poet who seamlessly grew up and out from Dún Laoghaire along the Dublin coastline and now lives in West Sussex. With work appearing in Agenda, Blue Nib, Drawn to the Light, Our Own Storms Journal, The Honest Ulsterman and Lime Square Poets, to name but a few. She's a Pushcart Prize nominee, was shortlisted for the Bridgeport Poetry Prize last year, and her latest pamphlet, Miniskirts in the Wasteland, was a Poetry Book Society winter selection last year. When not taking part in relay races around Ireland, she's working on her first full collection, running today through a childhood in Dublin. This is Pratibha Castle.
Hello everyone, my name is Pratibha Castle and I hail from Dublin. Seamless. The Manny rides on crumpled sheets, stifles birthing howls, casts curses to scorched nurses, the Dada delivery rooms, green walls. Sure didn't the nuns invest in her the virtue of a bitten tongue? A caution she as eldest fostered, buffer against sibling clatter, squabbling clutter. Manny's tongue lash, will yez ever hold your wished? Ragged off the owl shift, spinning fully fashioned nylons with a seam, the Dada ditched his chilly habit, dawn dip off sandy coals, to burst into St. Michael's, drenched in labour's sweat. At the window to the creche he stands, jerk-jawed, purple grimacing with effort to restrain the tears. For hadn't men as lads with snotty noses, scabby knees, gathered from a Christian brother's belt or fist, how weeping was for girls and sissies. Tweed jacket not yet patched from phrase to be, his tears blossom at the prospect of his fig-cheeked daughter, clench-fisted, having set out as she means to carry on, fully fashioned and no need of seams.
And from the capital county of the south to a capital recalling of the styling of the county colours by a Meath man remembered now as a baton is handed over to County Meath and its poet, who's a spoken word artist, creative writing facilitator and festival curator, with awards from the Irish Writers' Centre, a residency at Kilralloch and a John Hewitt residency, and has work appearing in places like Women's News, Hot Press, Women's Work anthologies, the Blue Nib, the Strokestown anthology, our very own Storms Journal and the Wax Lemon, to name but a few. She is the author of the poetry collection Crow's Books from 2020, and a second collection, Closed Peg in My Pocket, is coming out later this year. But for now, keeping us moving up through the counties today for Poetry Day Ireland, for County Meath, this is Anne MacDonald.
My name is Anne MacDonald and I'm delighted to be reading for the County of Meath. And this is a poem about my father, Eamon Faulkner, who certainly was a man of his county. And it's called A Man of Meath. It's a rare and special gift to stay forever proud of who you are and where it is you came from. To live all your days near familiar roads and fields. To know the branch of every tree and the notes of every bird song. To embrace the new and yet hold dear the memories of those you loved and knew, who walked these same familiar roads before you. To recall the way that things were done when you were young, and pass these stories down, each one a special treasure, one by one. To work all week but keep Sundays for the match in Navan, Kentstown, Screen and Kells, and come home full of stories of the goal well kicked or the penno missed, and who ate the last ham sandwich on the sly in the car on the way home. It's a rare and special man who stays forever proud of how his family and his parish grew, and how it was important to always try to create a team for youngsters so they knew where they called home. And it's not many men can wear his Sunday suit with the county colours and still have style, cheering on those youngsters now fully men and women grown. It's a rare and special life that's lived to the last, full and true, and although your time with us has passed, your legacy will live as a man who had much to share and much to give. And for that we say, Céad Mhuile Buíochas. Now I recognise the bird's song and the branch of every tree, and I pass the bench in Bettystown with your name and date of passing, and I know you here forever in the rolling of the sea.
And from County Meath, Anne MacDonald hands over the baton to the smallest county in Ireland, County Louth, for a poet well used to taking part in Poetry Day Ireland events here at Eat the Storms to represent his county. He is a Pushcart Prize nominee and Over the Edge featured guest in 2022, was showcased at the Kirch International Literary Festival in Galway, has been a recipient of the Goldsmith Literary Poetry Award, and has been work in places like Poetry Ireland Review and many more anthologies both here in Ireland and abroad. So we certainly know we're in good hands as the baton is raised for County Louth and its poet, John Noonan.
Dead Passage Tomb. Wide-eyed they play over the scraggy green mound, chase each other in circles, stumble over clumps and scattered stone. Their cave children screams echo, while the low reach of sunlight glows the Boyne Valley towards us, slices itself between gate bars of the chamber, light creeping along carved stone darkness. Alone, this alignment moment is all ours. In stillness, their young gaze store the last rays of winter light, eyes of fire, a spirit world entering.
And as our poetic relay race continues our tour around the island of Ireland, north to south, east to west, today we are heading inland now to pass the baton to County Monaghan to consider the shapes of our own constellations from a poet and translator whose work has appeared in England, Ireland, Germany, the United States, Canada and Australia. He has two poetry collections, November Wedding from Lilliput and Some Poems from the Moth, which means there's certainly no slowing us down on the next lap as we're running on pure creativity. Taking to the tracks for County Monaghan, this is Ted McCarthy.
Hello, this is Ted McCarthy, reading from and on behalf of County Monaghan. This poem is called Constellations. I could never figure out what others saw at night. The stars coalesced into patterns older than the written word, but they weren't my shapes. Mine were different, the dream of an oddity. They're gone now, and I wonder, which is the greater loss, those outlines or the boy who stitched them together? It took me years to understand that there are different ways of not knowing. Night wheels uncaring above our infinite roofs, our lives singular and insignificant as plankton. A lit city is less than a pinprick, its heat no more than that of a red cell in a thread of veins no one sees. There are no constellations. They're all lone stars, strangers to each other. Their names are a monument to our hunger for speech. How, without stories, we're bereft. Particles of life, like blobs of mercury, fated never to fasten on each other.
We may be running, but it's match time too as we welcome our first Northern Ireland county to the relay race, and it's County Armagh. The County Monaghan has just handed over the baton, and we're already running along that track with a writer, a poet, aspiring novelist and a screenwriter, a recipient of the Community Arts Partnership Good Relations Award for 2022 for writing haiku, and most recently an awardee for the Irish Writers' Centre Northern Soul Roadshow 2024. No time for his local writing group today in his hometown of Portadown as he holds the baton for County Armagh. This is Paddy McCurdy.
Paddy McCurdy, County Armagh. The match. Vivid hordes throng steep hills and gaps to rusted stiles that wedge and creak as the field of thrills emerges. Smaller than imagined, rose lime lawn with sharp white lines. Law for those ripped from the guts of the earth. Mildew tiles and worn wood in their wake, stud scrape, patron surf, harrying foes with a vive a maim, a vague animus grazing the gorgeous stand. Acclaim accosts the home team, idols, a brooding march, the man in Hasteland blows his whistle, a chorus of tidal torso surge for 90 short minutes, fences flung agape, scarves litter the curbs.
And from County Armagh, we're making strides now through this island of Ireland and passing the baton over to County Down, to a place, a land, a patch of shadow on a hill, with our County Down poet who's had poems published in the Seamus Heaney 2023 Award for New Writing Anthology Compass, in an anthology of new poetry, My Own Words, What If, and her writing was accepted for the Royal Society of Literature for the Bonnie Greer workshops. With poems exhibited at the Belfast Book Festival, she's received bursaries from the Irish Writers' Centre and had stories airing on BBC Radio Ulster's Tell Tales. For County Down, joining us for today's Poetic All-Ireland Relay Race, this is Heather Fleming.
Hello, my name is Heather Fleming from County Down. Jammy's Hill is the old field name for the place where we built our house. Jammy's Hill. All the beings that were ever here before time notching and bean counting in this place, on this land, this patch where my feet are barely planted, I taste you on threads of ragged air. This land holds shadows in layers of time, before great-grandfather, fleeting great-grandmother, walked by moonlight, down and up the valley, senses keenly sharpened for the flaxhole, banshee and fairy. Those who suckled their young, protected life, those who killed multitudes of beings, blood spilled like milk, less precious, worked to death animals and people toiling in the given light. I sense you still, up through this earthiness that almost holds me.
And from County Down, we leaped up across the track to County Antrim now, to John Hewitt's land for a poet, published in Poetry Ireland Review, Washing Windows Abridged, The Honest Ulsterman and Zonder magazine, to name but a few. She's been shortlisted for the Over the Edge New Writer of the Year in 2018, longlisted for the Tennessee New Writing Prize in 2019, had a special mention in the Corsham Poetry Competition in 2021, and in 2020 the Arts Council awarded her an Individual Disabled Artist Award. She's been a recipient of the Community Arts Partnership Good Relations Award in 2023, and this year was one of the awardees of the Northern Soul Roadshow from the Irish Writers' Centre. Our County Antrim poet Anita Gracie has a rare condition called Friedreich's ataxia. This affects her mobility and speech, so today Anita's sister-in-law Jacqueline Gracie will be reading a poem about Anita's marathon running brother, who is also Jacqueline's husband. So today, joining us for the All-Ireland Poetic Relay Race for County Antrim, please welcome Anita and Jacqueline Gracie.
Love Never Reaches a Finishing Line by Anita Gracie, read by Jacqueline Gracie. My teenage brother finds his first love in the echo of riots. He puts on running shoes, crunching through glass and smouldering wreckage, his feet on repeat, flying down tight streets through autumn hues and the dark of winter, faster than stray dogs, faster than doubt his blood quickens, his breath thickens, warped tarmac rises to meet his drum through spring bites and summer rain, painted curbstones fluting the lane, thoughts set free, dashing in and out. Now, a riot of light creeps the ceiling, the afternoon sun is fighting into the ward, his artery flow blocked, a stumble in plain sight. Age nips his heels, but he doesn't let it overtake, not yet. His daughter, fresh from her run, fixes his pillow, reminding him it's a marathon, not a sprint. Her cornflower eyes long them once more to lasso laces among blossoming birdsong.
And we're right on top of Northern Ireland now as we pass the baton from County Antrim to Seamus Heaney's lands of County Derry, and there's no slowing us down here as we take flight, this time with kingfishers, scallop shells, swan feathers and memories of fathers for our County Down poet. He has worked as a music and arts journalist for the Derry News, Citizen Magazine and Culture Northern Ireland website. This published poet has performed spoken word sets at the Stendhal Arts Festival, and the Foyle Folk Group was shortlisted for the Brian Moore Short Story Award, and is a presenter of several shows on Drive 105 FM. For County Derry, this is Mark Burns.
Hello, my name is Mark Burns. I am the poet for Derry, and this poem is called Transmutation. I have only spied the kingfisher, pictured through poems, captured languid in the lens of another. Still, someday I will. I keep translucent totems, scented rosary beads gifted by my sister from Medjugorje. I gathered on the road towards Santiago de Compostela, scallop shells and a straw hat, rain-soaked and sun-stroked. For years I carried in my pocket a sharp green glass stone, a memory charm. On Friday the 13th, my father's least favourite day, I dropped it deep into his mud-floored grave. I keep on my writing desk a swan feather, purple-dyed, a prize from a poet, quill point to spill, black ink and words to thrill. This kingfisher I have yet to see, is coloured not blue nor green, a prism refracted, reflecting shades past done and gone. More, a kaleidoscope to a future, brightened by tinctures of flying light, the flight of today's turnings.
And just like that, we're heading inland to County Tyrone, to the land of poet John Montague, for a neurodivergent poet born in Tyrone and now living in Belfast. His poems have been published online and in print journals. He was a winner of the Matrix Prize in 2007. His debut pamphlet was called Silent Stigma, Loud Leaf, which he followed with Gently But a Dream, and his most recent pamphlet was called Sleeve Notes. Holding a baton now for his home county and taking a soul flight in memory of the passing of a gentleman for County Tyrone, this gentleman is Marty McKenna.
Hi Damien. Hello everyone. I'm absolutely delighted to be back on Eat the Storms podcast, especially representing my home county of Tyrone in the 32 Counties Poetry Ireland Day podcast. I'm going to read a poem about a gentleman from Killyland in County Tyrone called Jimmy McCann, who passed away sadly at the beginning of February this year. Jimmy worked tirelessly in the community, getting people into the wild and getting them onto the lakes. And he was a pure gentleman at heart. He's, in fact, my best friend's father and a very good friend of myself. We also love to have a laugh over a pint about Flann O'Brien or the local news. This poem I'm going to read is titled Hummingbird. And incidentally, the 21 grams mentioned in the poem, some cultures believe is the weight of the soul. So the soul leaving the body is 21 grams. And it incidentally is the same weight as a hummingbird. So this is titled Hummingbird. You were fingerprints in the snow, individual, likely, definite. We followed you across your fields. Since we lost you, I see your face in my mind's eye at every turn. You left this island, all 21 grams, and yet the island feels heavier for its loss. Caught in this flood of creativity, I couldn't help but place my hand into the pool of our grief. I still expect those loving ways over a dry glass or two. You have shown me how. I miss those fingerprints of yours. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a lovely day.
And from inland to the edge of the northwest of Ireland, we're on the move again from Tyrone and heading to County Donegal for a poet, writer and retired barrister. This poet suffers from a rare condition called hereditary amyloidosis and has written a book called Donegal Amy, a rare disease from Ireland. Her poems appear in places like Community Arts Partnership anthologies Heartland and Threshold, the Seamus Heaney Home Place Autumn Fragments, Drawn to the Light, Silk Road and Derry News. Her poem Parenthesis was commissioned for the From Bloody Sunday to Brexit project and appears in the Free Derry Museum. Today, running from County Donegal with all her offerings, we have Rosaleen Callahan.
Rosaleen Callahan, representing Donegal. Offering. If I'd known it was my last Monday, I'd have hired the horse, galloped along Mahara Gallen's shoreline, naked as a prayer, untamed Atlantic spray, inciting a crop of unself-conscious goosebumps, and I'd have offered it all to the wind and the wet and the wild. If I'd known it was my last Tuesday, I'd have bought the silk scarf with soaring swans and waterfalls I'd pronounced too youthfully colourful for a crone's neck and far too dear. If I'd known it was my last Wednesday, I'd have bought the exotic perfume that would only get lost in lonely, lived-in crepe of skin, no lover's nose to seek the daub above each breast. If I'd known it was my last Thursday, I'd have painted the fence with polka dots and my front door purple or maybe pink, with not a thought of what the neighbours might think. If I'd known it was my last Friday, I'd have bought the flimsy hat with its wide, floppy brim and rainbow of feathers set in a silver brooch that would only let the rain right in. If I'd known it was my last Saturday, I'd have bought the yellow boots, patent knee-high platforms, like those I wore a lifetime ago, instead of extra wide-fitting, triple E, brown slip-on brogues. On Swan Song Sunday, they'd come to claim the husk and find it festooned with frippery. As they fluster through a fuchsia-painted doorway, the unsubtle odour of sandalwood oud from Marrakesh would hit them in the face, and I'd have offered it all to the wind and the wet and the wild.
And taking us up now to the halfway mark of this All-Ireland relay race celebrating Poetry Day Ireland 2024, we're heading to County Fermanagh and its award-winning poet. This writer flirts on the border of Fermanagh and Leitrim. Their poem, which you're about to hear, Raucous Wings, was published in 2020 in the North Star. She was a winner of the Roscommon New Writing Award 2022 and twice won the Leitrim Guardian Literature Award. She is a recipient of the Kilrannock residency at the Irish Writers' Centre, and today, flying with the raucous wings of the Catalina, taking off from the loch for County Fermanagh, this is Trish Bennett.
Hi, this is Trish Bennett and I'm representing County Fermanagh. Raucous wings. When you live in the sticks, you'd think there'd be peace. Not a hope this week with the racket of winged things. House martins crowd telephone lines, swoop down in a chitter-chatter. A village of raucous starlings land in the cherry tree. This upsets the tits enough to flit their feeder and return to defend their perches. The Catalinas returned to do laps of the loch, bringing back the sounds of the 40s. She takes the turn so low, her engines thrum, thrum over our home. She looks like she'll belly slap Lunny's Hill, but no, she glides on to land at St. Angelo's. When she vrooms over the room on the umpteenth turn, I imagine our lane a rough track then, fit only for horse and cart and hardy folk. The noise of herself and her Sunderland friends, flying low to land on their Atlantic return. As they roar over the stone-walled homes, the women grab the beads and bless themselves when their sacred hearts are rattled.
And as Fermanagh comes up to the county finish line in the form of Trish Bennett to hand the baton over to County Leitrim, we're going to take a well-deserved pause here from the relay race and indulge ourselves in a musical treat. Today, for Poetry Day Ireland 2024, I'm delighted to welcome to the podcast the exquisite Phoenix and Wolf, a musical fusion of Irish and Brazilian mystique, wonder and charm. This duo comprises of Amanda Jane Shannon in Cairo, Russia, who've been writing and composing together since 2020. Their first single was We'll Get Used to It, released in 2022, and they're currently back in the studio creating new music that's both explorative and evocative, seducing listeners by leading them into another realm, marrying provocative lyrics with sophisticated melodies and arrangements. If you fancy hearing them live, they'll be performing in Kilrush in County Clare in Banner Books on the 22nd of June, and tickets are currently available on Eventbrite. Today, especially for the podcast, they're performing a Sean-nós with Amanda on vocals and Cairo on guitar. This one is a song about the loss of the people of the Blasket Islands, their parting and pain, leaving their land, looking back to the island and wondering if they'll ever return.
Diamond Shire na mare le huignes emori ek vegan didro an blasket vor shira hond o queen near denna naturia o dagen som not fado Ilan skaren makon se is beimas en godio is chin gatain na boire it freha quel is huan winter it is shan it can last is smuintse an gan stró Drithid amach muir se Siarach am bhain ó ach tá na drin is isce an nuaithe dar nó Thomas muinte an dilan sin is béisi dan gadio Thomas muinte an dilan sin is béisi dan gadio Thomas muinte an dilan sin is béisi dan gadio
Wasn't that just extraordinary? That was Phoenix and Wolf, and if you want to hear more from them, as I said, they're playing in Kilrush in County Clare at Banner Books on the 22nd of June. And in the meantime, you can follow them on social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. But for now, it's time to say, on your marks, get ready and go! During the break, Trish Bennett handed the baton over from County Fermanagh to County Leitrim to the author of the poetry collection The Hawthorn Tree, published by Lapwing Publishers, a writer with poems in several journals including the London Grip, Cormorant's Dreek and the Californian Catamaran, and I hope he's powered today by that catamaran. His poem Lost Souls was adapted into a short film and won the Blissfest Film Festival in Chicago 2022, and later it was selected for the Los Angeles Poetry Film Festival. The author of 8 fictional novels including Darkness at the Edge of Town, he has a new poetry collection called A Cold Wind coming soon, and I hope that wind is blowing behind him today as he leads the race through County Leitrim towards Sligo. This is Kevin McManus.
Hello, my name is Kevin McManus and I'm from County Leitrim, and the poem I'm going to read for you today is called Cold Wind from the Lake. A raw January day, the bitter wind coming up from the lake would skin you. Hands were red and torn, cut from briar and blackthorn. Daylight was in short supply, as their breath hung in the cold midwinter air, cursing the clock, time to get it done, tying the wet pallet to the post, bridging the gap, knotting the short blue rope with clumsy stubby fingers. As the sharp sleety rains came down, the watery sun was swallowed by the woods on Johnson's Hill.
And the halfway point is well behind us now as we head into WB Yeats Land and County Sligo for our next relay race poetry participant, who's been over in the West since 1999, writing poetry and fiction, and won the Dermot Healy Award in 2021 for her portfolio of both. When not running with us, she's the editor of Drunk Muse Press and their sister magazine, The Poets Republic, and formerly part of the team that founded Scrimshaw. She is the host of the annual Countdown Fan Festival in Munster Adine and the author of 2 poetry collections, Silver Spoon, published by Salmon Poetry, and The Opposite of Grieving, published by Ninepence Press. Running now for County Sligo, this is Jessamine O'Connor.
Jessamine O'Connor, Sligo. Stop calling it war. When the sky swarms with machines and every place you go to escape explodes, when piece after piece you lose all of what makes you yourself, starting with home, it's not war. When you're told to run, so you run, bringing only the most treasured of things, but you're running in circles and dropping the cat, baby photos, wedding rings, parents and their last parched blessings. It's not war. When you stop running only when the small arm you've been dragging up mountains of rubble, down through pits of smoke, just to end up back again where you began. When that hand you've been holding so fiercely grows cold, and the arm just dangles with no child left behind it, it's not war. When a confetti of words falls, says to keep moving, but there's nowhere to move to, so you sit down there in the dust of your city's bones, knowing there was never meant to be any solution, and every person you knew and loved and grew up with would be ground up like eggshells for their freshly sown fields. It's not war.
And we're running out now into the western arms of Ireland as she stretches into the wild Atlantic for County Mayo, and an award-winning multidisciplinary artist working in music, sound and visual art, originally from Peru but now deeply rooted here in Ireland. Her most recent poetry collections have been Nothing Compares to Everyone, or in Spanish, Nada Pertenece a Todos, and Rain, Love, Death Poets, or in Spanish, Lluvia, Amor, Muerte, Poeta. She has been the recipient of awards from the Mayo County Council Art Selection and Culture Ireland, the recipient of the 2023 Premio Nuevo Ateneo Online, or the New Athenaeum Online Award. With a collection coming later this year, but now with roots deep in the yew, the ash, the oak and the hawthorn tree to keep her steady in front of Crow Patrick. Running for County Mayo, this is Isabella Bassombrio Hoban.
My name is Isabella Bassombrio Hoban, and I am delighted to be reading for County Mayo. The name of the poem is Yew Tree. While yew tree branches reach up for more sky and roots plunge dark towards moist, deeper earth, we move through our days without noticing a stretch that pulls in opposite directions of cloud and bog. A rhythm that ensures calming presences of bark, leaves, shade, heather, capturing light, energy, oak, ash, hawthorn, drawing water up stems. As the sea turns yellow when sky is spring in Mayo, gorse blue climbs, placing a stone on the summit of Crow Patrick for lives thousands of years old, while absorbing sound waves that forest dwellers remember hearing.
And staying on those Irish arms, extending out into the Western Sea, we're running down through County Galway and Connemara now, with a pledge to carry on despite the losses, with a poet, short story writer, reviewer, painter and facilitator who's been published in places like Drawn to the Light Press, Howl 23, New Irish Writing, Our Own Storms Journal and Skylight 47, among others. Highly commended for the Desmond O'Grady Poetry Competition this year, she was shortlisted for the Open Window Mentoring Award in 2023 and has received bursaries from the Irish Writer Centre and the Munster Literary Centre. Normally working on her first poetry collection, but today she is here with baton raised, a wildflower girl in the Gaeltacht of Connemara. For County Galway, this is Barbara Dunn.
Hi, my name is Barbara Dunn, and I am representing Galway. This is my poem, Finding Home. Your birthday, last day of the month, long heatwave, though you didn't know it, and final day in that house you called home. You weren't moving far really, only over the wall. But you were leaving a different woman from the tangled marionette mother who drove 3 wildflower girls and a cat out of the city a decade earlier. To find yourselves living in Connemara, a stronghold of GAA, basketball, and tractors. A village on the edge of a great lake, and surrounded by the strong arms of consoling woods. You had been evicted 3 months earlier, and 3 months after the death of their father. You left the splintered remains of all that pain behind in boxes labelled "Do Not Disturb." But that feeling, driving out to your new home in the October dusk for the first time, flaming light falling on the tree-ruled road, anointing you with cascading saffron and gold leaves. That was the pledge of summer.
And we're more than halfway down along the western coast of Ireland as Barbara passes the baton from County Galway to County Clare and its poet who has an MA in creative writing. She was shortlisted for the Fish Short Story Prize earlier this year and has work in places like Trumpet, The Stony Thursday Book, Washing Windows, The Honest Ulsterman and many more. With literature awards from the Arts Council and an artist-to-artist mentorship from Glór Arts Centre in 2023, and today with a cry to every woman who bore a child, giving voice to the Sheila na Gig, this is our County Clare poet, Deirdre de Valley.
Deirdre de Valley, Clare, Sheila na Gig a Kilnaboy Church. In Lena Bauch, woman of stone above the old church lintel at Kilnaboy. 40 weeks past, I drew myself open to the seed siphoned into my womb. Miracle planted in fertile space. Flesh, blood, bones, spirit, stretch my belly taut as a goatskin drum. The child yearns for separation, for light, for freedom from constriction. Impatient now to depart the dark cocoon of my swollen body, eager to hear its own heartbeat, ready to unfurl into woman or man. See the beauty of this portal my hands draw open. Cup your hands beneath me. Guide the fruit of our union, this gift from Danu, from Angus Og. Behold the unfolding of mystery to form. New life is birthed in a flow of water, a river of life. My face contorted in pain, stretched in anticipation. I cry out to all mothers, I cry out into eternity. I am every mother who breathed her child into existence. I have no colour, no creed, no country. I am invitation, etched in stone.
We're completing the circle now with the entire coast of Ireland as we move from Clare to County Limerick, which borders on County Kerry, where we started our poetic relay race. So onwards and a welcome to our Limerick poet before we start closing the circle and heading inland. For Limerick, we have an artist and a writer who uses drawing, painting, text and textiles to explore physics and ecology through creative abstraction. She's had art published in her own Storms journal in Onotul and Orion. She's had poetry published in journals such as Sherman, Causeway, Cower and Skyline 47, and her first book, Aesthetics and Conventions of Medical Art, was published by Boom Graduates. Today, running while she swims for County Limerick, this is Ellen Harold.
Hello, my name is Ellen Harold. I'm from County Limerick, and this is a poem about wild swimming. In distant shrouds. A cold wind dusts the ankles, fog tickles the eyelashes, stumbling out of the water at 13:36. That's when the tide rises. far enough to submerge at speed, colliding, choppy opaque surfaces, flashing hues of sickly aquamarines and dove greys. Flying through I see neither, doves nor jewels nor ocean waves. I feel a cold that punches my ribs, hitting the temples next. There is little resistance when I push downwards and force my face up to that illuminating cloud cover and see a mammoth trawler towering in distant haze.
And as I said, we're already heading inland now at a fine pace as a baton is passed from Limerick to County Tipperary for a poet and spoken word artist who often writes about mental health and nature, seeing the two as deeply connected. With work published in the latest edition of New Word Orders Journal and working on their own poetry collection, but today already cloaked from a crisp morning but making laps for County Tipperary, this is Winnie Hannigan.
Hi, my name is Winnie Hannigan and I'm representing Tipperary and reading my poem Love Note to a Loch. You crept up on me when I wasn't looking. Months of sombre marching carried me to this time. But those moments were meant to lead me here. A delicate glint of sunlight on your water called to me, an invitation to pause, even if just for a moment. The mountains behind you somehow seemed small, at least in comparison to you and your power. A heavy silence draped itself around me here, and I wore it like a cloak on a crisp morning. I trembled in awe as I clasped it tightly to my body. This modest sight ignited my every sense completely. A gentle breeze encouraged deep breaths. The smell of cool water met my nostrils, slowly lapping against a stone guard of honour, guarding the tranquillity like a fortress. Speechless, I wondered about this gift of yours. Do you freely give it to others, or is it reserved for the ones who need you most? I marvelled at your beauty for more minutes than I could count. The sun hid behind the mountainous backdrop, yet a light still shone from you, from deep within you. The lock of endless peace, sweetness, tranquility. Eventually I had to force myself to take my leave. I parted better than when I stumbled upon your treasure, the lock of 1,000 secrets and endless wonder.
We're coming down to the last 9 poets now in our All-Ireland Relay Race for Poetry Day Ireland and high jumping into the land of exiled poet John Locke. It's County Kilkenny up next, and its poet is the author of the poetry collections The Gatherer of Shadow in 2012, which won the Michael Hartnett Award, Bindweed in 2017, shortlisted for the Irish Times Poetry Award, and most recently Beyond Stillness, longlisted for the Laurel Prize. He's written librettos for 2 operas, was the editor of Poetry Ireland in 1999 and has been awarded Arts Council bursaries. His book of poems From the Japanese Gardens, with images from photographer Margaret O'Brien Moran, will be published next year. But for now, joining the race and representing County Kilkenny, we have a witness to the setting of a swan after flight. This is Mark Roper.
Mark Roper, County Kilkenny. My poem is called Hooper Swan, and it's in 4 parts. Hooper Swans. 1 to Brockney. When it seems as if it's all too broken to mend, house flooding, house on fire, there are these meadows by the river, in winter a safe haven for wild swans. They eat more grass than I would like, says the farmer, but they need their place. All day the swans attend to that grass. Neat scrolls of turd mark their progress. Squabbles break out. There are pecking orders, power struggles. Lapwing, curlew drift in from the river, feed close beside. There's room. A bright field blessed for life is what I might once have felt able to say. 2. January. They are too white for winter. No frost in their feathers, no ice. And that bright stain of buttercup, their bills have been dipped in spring. 3. I knelt. I knelt beside the dead swan in the field. It was staring up at the sky. The eyes had been eaten away. The yellow on its bill was, I saw, fashioned from small feathers. I never wanted to be this close. The wings were open, earth supporting what once had needed only air. The swan lay in the grass, a patch of newly fallen snow. I thought of the Stone Age child buried on the wing of a swan. What ceremony for this bird! A bride married to everything, dead in her dress outside the church door. 4. November. To be there as they reach this station, to hear again that slow, sad jubilation, to see the miles let go of each wing, to feel the breath of wild they bring to these damp fields. In this green harbour, to watch them furl sail, weigh anchor, to know this still happens, to know they will be here tomorrow and tomorrow.
I think we're already thinking about the finish line now as we jump from County Kilkenny and hand the baton over to our representative for County Carlow, the author of the poetry collection reading John Ashbery and Costa Coffee Carlow, shortlisted for the Shine Strong 2020 Poetry Prize. This poet is a lecturer in Carlow College, St Patrick's, and his second collection, Sipping Martinis Under Mount Leinster, is on the way later this year. His poems have appeared in places like the Irish Times, the Irish Pages, Stinging Fly, Poetry Salzburg Review, the Honest Ulsterman, Skylight 47 and the Stony Thursday Book. Today, leaping onto the tracks for County Carlow as the wind runs through the bog, accompanied by a dirge on the cello, this is Derek Coyle.
Hello, this is Derek Coyle here in Carlow, representing this small little county in the southeast as part of our poetry relay. And I have Carlow poem number 77. Someday I'll tune up my cello and sit in the middle of the bog of Allen, my music stand before me, the wind, my page turner. I'll play Kodai's sonata for solo cello in honor of all the dead trees. I can see the notes wafting out across the June evening like peaceful midgets dancing. It will be a song of praise too, for all the carbon this bog is going to soak up in a final act of usefulness on our behalf. Ah, yes, hear those resonant notes, that deep bass. And then, when I'm done, I'll make a small raft out of broken pallets. Some boys from Doran will give me a hand so that I can sail down the Barrow, this time playing Britain, Benjamin Britten. The slow bowing of my cello, a dirge for all the dead salmon, all the fish lost to this river. Maybe it's not quite dead yet, but from one point of view, it's near extinction. I'll play my dirge the way church bells ring out over a village, hoping some will stop, listen, and think, and maybe see a mallard duck move sideways across the water, thoughtfully getting out of the way of a young salmon, heading eagerly downstream on its way to sea. Meanwhile, the willows are all ears. in a curious silence.
From County Carlow, we have another baton passing now over to County Kildare, and we meet with the winner of the 2023 Poetry for Patients competition, who was also shortlisted for the 2023 Yeats Torabellini International Poetry Prize. With poems appearing in places like the Irish Times, Poetry Ireland Review, Books Ireland, Rope, Skylight 47 and the Poets Republic, she was a joint winner of the Penfro First Chapter competition in 2016 and shortlisted for the PJ O'Connor Radio Drama Awards. Running now for County Kildare with the sorrows of Deirdre from Irish folklore, this is Cathy Conlon.
My name is Cathy Conlon and I'm reading for County Kildare. Raven. Fridays we read from a book of Irish legends. The myths romanced the long afternoon in that stuffy classroom. I favoured Deirdre fleeing with her young lover from the shackles of the old king. The words painted a scene so real I could see the coal black hair of Nisha, his white skin and blood-red lips. The snowy hillside where Deirdre had seen the raven flying over a dead calf. When the tabloid leaked news of a local girl's forced marriage to an old farmer, it was as if a bird had frozen in flight over the slaughtered calf, the virginal bleeding snow.
From Kildare, we're certainly taking a long jump now to the next county for a long shot. The title poem from our County Westmeath representative, whose poetry has appeared in a number of literary journals and anthologies. He's the author of the poetry collection In a Changing Light, published by Salmon Poetry in 2016, and this Sunday, the 28th of April at Books Upstairs in Dublin, you can catch the launch of his new collection, Moving On, also from Salmon Poetry. He's been a winner, a runner-up and highly commended in various poetry competitions and is a regular performer at poetry and spoken word events and festivals around Ireland and abroad. Today, racing along tracks in pursuit of various projects for County Westmeath, this is Phil Lynch.
My name is Phil Lynch. I'm reading for County Westmeath. My poem is titled Long Shots. Long shots. We meet in the lounge of the local, less noisy mid-morning than the cafe next door. At the bar, punters pick plausible propositions, pausing sips of early morning pints to place bets in the bookies upstairs. They know the day will breed frustration more than celebration. They ignore the science of experience for the compensation of the chance to beat the odds. On the other side, we are poetry partners, picking pronouns and prepositions to fit the lines. Mine and hers going neck and neck towards some illusory finishing post. A book against all odds, or mere crumpled pages in the wastepaper pile of also-rans. The going can be good at times, heavy at others, mostly fair to middling. We race along together in pursuit of precarious projects. Whether crafted with skill or stumbled upon by chance, the rare success of a winning formula breaking the line at just the right time renders the chase worth the while.
We've only 5 more counties to go now as we hurtle from Westmeath and enter the lands of County Cavan for a very familiar voice to the podcast with work in places like Poetic, Pandemic.ie, Poetry Ireland and even our own Storms Journal. She's the author of the poetry collection Living with Love, which came out in 2020, followed by the collaborative poetry and photography collection Time in collaboration with Julie Corcoran. She was the inaugural winner of the Enlightened Prize with Hambly and Hambly for her poem What Peace Feels Like in 2020 and again in 2021 with her poem For You. Involved in 2 cross-border peace projects, she's also had 3 short stories and 2 poems in Thrice Remembered, an anthology of Cavan Writings 2022. Running for County Cavan today in our All-Ireland Poetic Relay Race, but holding the key to romance, especially at 3 a.m. This is Fidel Hogan-Walsh.
Hello everyone, my name is Fidel Hogan-Walsh, and it is a real honour to be reading for the wonderful Eat the Storms podcast for this very special Poetry Day Ireland episode. I'm representing County Cavan, and my poem is called Around 3 a.m. I hear the spokes whirring in the stillness of night, and a breath from a worn-out saddle. Handlebars settle against the wall. My heart trembles when your cobweb strands cling, and you echo like an invisible haunting forever in my ribcage. A key in the lock turns, old floorboards creak, and in you stroll with that incurable romantic grin. When the wheels of reality are but a blur, and travel moves faster than time, I will always love you around 3 a.m.
From Cavan, we are coming down to County Longford to tighten this inwarding spiral of today's relay race as the baton is passed to an English and history teacher actively involved in farming in North Longford. And this poem today is a tribute to her father and grandfather and friends who made their living as cattle dealers travelling across the country. She's one of the hosts of the weekly #PromptCombo Poets for Twitter, originally the brainchild of former poet in residence at Poetry Ireland, Catherine Ann Cullen, during COVID. Most recently, she's had a piece published in Blackbow Poetry's Christmas and Winter Anthology, and today, with those ancestors cutting across the cobbles of 100,000 towns, this, for County Longford, is Anne Tully.
Listening. Brown boots wrap a tattoo on the kitchen's checkered tiles. Riddled into life, the range is a metal's counterpoint. 5 o'clock start. Kilrush, Kilkee, Kilmehel. Ash plants propped in a corner. Early morning cigarette smoke drifts up the stairs on twists of muffled laughter. Chairs clatter backwards. Oughteraard, Mamcross, Clifton. Mugs rattle on the sink, and the nailed boots beat a retreat. The latch on the back door falls closed. Castle Island, Kilorglin, Cahir-Siveen. Swinging up and into the truck wreathed in morning mist, the engine coughs in the frosty air. Ballahadureen, Claremorris, Newport. Jolting away across the cobbles to joust and tangle in an age-old dance. Advance, bid, retreat, demur. You're a way out. Split the difference. Damn the hate. Bandon, Fermoy, Skibbereen. As the clock has ran its round, the little listeners of the dawn will hardly hear the clang of the ramp on the cobblestones, calling time.
From Longford and its ancestors travelling the miles to Achilles now and a spinning of a wheel, from a poet in County Roscommon who was recently published in the new Roscommon Anthology 2019 to 2023. She's also had work appearing in places like the Wax Lemon, the Acrostic Review and Drawn to the Light. She was recently a recipient of an Artist Bursary Award 2022 and normally lectures in English literature in Waterford, but today, taken to the tracks as our third last relay race athlete, bringing it home for County Roscommon, this is Krista de Bruyne.
Krista de Bruyne, Roscommon. Ixion's wheel. Keep spinning the wheel. Endless torment and perpetual motion. Don't fret, the frame will hold. The wind you were racing, the stars you were chasing, keep spinning the wheel. Don't stop, don't break, stay the spoked wheel. Don't fret, the frame will hold. Find your puncture, apply glue, let dry. Keep spinning the wheel, or you'll have to reapply. Patch and place, this too will pass. Don't fret, the frame will hold. Scorn shame, Achille has shielded his heel from harm. Keep spinning the wheel, don't fret, the frame will hold.
There's no slacking whatsoever now as we witness our penultimate poet take their position on the track, and as the whistle blows, off they go. The baton has been passed from County Roscommon to County Offaly, and she's off and running. This poet, born and raised in Offaly and now living in East Cork, with poetry published since 2014. Her first collection, Twigs, was published in 2018, and in 2021 she had a poem selected for Poetry in the Park by Cork City Libraries and Cork County Council. In 2023 she released her second collection, The Woman That Talked to Stones, Poems of Stone and Bone, influenced by nature, fairies, motherhood and the sorrows and wounds of Ireland's past. For County Offaly now, let's bring on the roaring burst of cheers for the River Daughter and Yvonne Brewer.
My name is Yvonne Brewer and I'm reading from my home county, County Offaly. River Daughter. Her roots began close to this river's source. Both sprouted from the same holy ground of monastic hills and green fields. Her throne was by a cliff, under an oak tree, overlooking the little Brosna riverbank, where many a time a heart that had sank would be renewed by a passing swan or a surprise early visit from swallows in low flight, announcing the return of light. Memories of her home county, a lump in her throat, like a ball stuck in a gap of an old farmhouse wall. So many places and faces, too many to recall. But now it is just a vision of a river that wins the race when memories are asked to sail and flow. Along this riverbank she knows she must once again go. The voice of the river beckons her to follow an old familiar path where slitters could find their way into the beaks of herons if they stood about with opened mouth, watching for a jumping brown trout. Crossing forward and back, dividing two counties, still, silver, trinkling, deep, haunting waters. All this time, her memory gold mine. Paddling passions of local anglers, or the ever-faithful hurling teams of past wins and losses, and tomorrow's unreached dreams. A pigeon feather becomes a shooting star in a horse chestnut breeze. And now at last she feels at ease, knowing it is this river that remains a symbol of home, a channel of memories in her soul. She smiles as if claiming the winning goal. Mesmerizing meanderings to reach the majestic Shannon. She now rests knowing her spirit will forever flow with the Midlands' fresh fluvial water, as she will remain eternally their free soul river daughter.
And here we go, listeners. The finish line is not only in sight, but it's right in front of us as we head from County Offaly, and the representative for County Laois takes the baton and brings it across the finish line to the cheers from the poets and the poetic lovers who've lined every inch of this All-Ireland Poetic Relay Race that started in Kerry and took this island by literal storm. And what better person to bring us home than a poet, short story writer and Beckett scholar from the county of Laois himself, whose current collection is called Calling Ireland, published by Revival Press. He is a poet laureate of Mount Mellick, giving us today a final hallelujah, a flash and a dance. This is our last county poet for County Laois, so stand up and cheer as he crosses the finish line. This is Arthur Broomfield.
Hello everybody, my name is Arthur Broomfield from County Laois, and this is the Laois poem. It's called The Exact Sun. That moment when the moon's a pyre, and they're waxed and packed for a day on the pier, bikinis and tubs of block, flowery shorts and flagons, and the cars won't start. And why is the sun so close at 6 o'clock, where the breaking dawn sings the morning's last bird songs? And he knows he's at the halting hearth when they sing hallelujahs to the firestorm, and he remembers that the flash and dance is beyond Alpha to Omega. He, the helpless corpse, in the lather of his second shroud. It's his time, he who knew the dots and commas before the burlesque wrote that blood in the arteries communes with the dry ice of a midnight moon.
And there's the final whistle to signify not only the end of this All-Ireland Poetic Relay Race, but also the end of today's show. This has been Eat the Storms, a poetry podcast celebrating Poetry Day Ireland 2024, and thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Damien B Donnelly. I've been your host and producer, and joined today by the phenomenal 32 poets reading 32 poems to celebrate the 32 extraordinary counties on this glorious island of Ireland. For details on every single one of my guests that you heard on the show today, head on over to eatthestorms.com. Click on the podcast section called Listen to the Podcast, and there you will find a blog post for every episode. Today's episode was called All Ireland Poetic Relay Race, and in that blog post you will find bios, photos and social media handles so you can find, follow and be fans of all these extraordinary voices. Huge thank you, of course, to Poetry Ireland, who initiated this wonderful annual event. And of course, thank you to all the podcast platforms that you can tune in on to listen to Eat the Storms. And they include Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, Podbean, Player FM, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castbox, Podcast Addicts and iTunes. What an event this has been. An extraordinary gathering of voices, of diversity, of accent, of theme, topic and myth. And I hope you felt like you've travelled through Ireland by simply tuning in from the comfort of your armchair. We're back with you again on Saturday for another bumper episode celebrating the Northern Soul Roadshow and the awardees of the Roadshow 2024 in conjunction with the Irish Writers' Centre, the Arts Council Northern Ireland, and of course its curator and facilitator, the fantastic Fiona O'Rourke, who will join me for a Behind the Storms chat on Saturday the 27th of April. On the following episode, on the 4th of May, we have another special episode celebrating Tourist Press, because they're bringing out my new collection, my second full collection called Back From Away, which arrives on the 8th of May, and we'll have a dual launch at the Irish Writers' Centre here in Dublin. But before that, of course, international audiences can hear this special episode of the podcast dedicated to Tourist Press poets, which now includes myself, The exceptional Emma McCurvey, who will share the lunch at the Irish Writers' Centre on the evening of the 8th of May. And joining us in the podcast, we'll also have Ross Hathaway and Ethla Lennon. So again, thank you all so much for joining me here today on Eat the Storms. It's been an honour to curate this glorious poetic insight to the exceptional island of Ireland. Gurvamila Mahagat, and of course, as usual, stay bloody poetic.
Oh, thank you.